Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, How Ansys Startup Program Can Accelerate Your Product Success, hosted by Belgium old startup Magnax, Daan de Ruiter, and by Infinite Simulation colleagues Sarah van der Wand and Tim van der Lin. Thank you already for joining. We will go further. So just a quick slide about how we get started and the introduction of GoToWebinar. We have taken a screenshot of an example of your interface, and you should see something like this on your screen in the upper right corner. By clicking on the red arrow, you can unfold this little screen and choose your audio mode or questions. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions or chats during this webinar. And at the end of the webinar, we will collect your specific questions. During the webinar, you are automatically muted. And of course, this webinar has a duration about maximally 1 hour, and it will be recorded. So the speakers for today are Daan de Ruiter of Magnax. He is R&D engineer of motor design at Magnax. Sarah van der Wand, colleague of Infinite Simulation Systems at Inside Sales. And Tim Lin, Infinite colleague of support and application engineer. The agenda, very short one, introduction by Infinite and Ansys Startup by Sarah, then Ansys Startup products and capabilities and support by Tim, introduction of Magnax by Daan, and of course how Ansys Startup program helped them by Daan, of course, and then finally the questions and the answers. So I will now hand over to you, Sarah. Enjoy and have a nice webinar. Sarah.
Thank you very much, Erna.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Okay, hi everybody. Yeah, let me just start. I will first introduce Infinite a little bit so that you know what Infinite does, how it's related to Ansys, and then go further to the Ansys Startup program. Let me see. There we go. So let me first start. Infinite Simulation Systems is an official elite channel partner of Ansys within the Benelux. This means that we work very closely together with Ansys and offer the Ansys solution to every possible customer within the Benelux. We already have been doing this since 1988, so over a very long time, which also means that we have a lot of experienced people. Our offices are located in Breda, and of course, we are very simulation driven. Since the beginning of 2020, we have become part of a group, the 4ITO group, together with 2 other companies, Cat Corner and GPO Solutions. And although their main business is PTC, so that's more CAD-based and PLM and PDM software, by exchanging our knowledge and our experience, we are really a very good team to really support every customer within the Benelux. So here you can see a small overview of everything that we do. We see ourselves as a solution partner to not only provide a service or a software package to our customers, but really help them understand their workflow and to see how simulation or a CAD solution or a PLM PDM solution can benefit in their work process. As you can see on the left, the other offices are also in Breda, but also there's one in Belgium. And we serve over almost 750 customers as of today, but still growing. So as I said, we do not only provide a service, we do not only provide a software package, we help you implement that software package, we help you with configuration, but we also help you understand your workflow and how simulation can contribute to that. Next to it, we also provide a lot of trainings, mostly the introductory trainings, but we also have advanced trainings, more specified for very specific use cases, which can be given both in-house and on-site. Next to that, as I mentioned before, we have a very good and strong support department where our support engineers are available to help you with all kinds of questions, to interpret your results, or to help you build up a certain workflow for your specific problem. I'm sorry, the presentation is a little bit slow. I'm not able to go further. Oh, there we go. So this is a small slide, but a big slide about all our, well, not all our customers, but a selection of our customers within the Benelux. Some of them you probably know, but it shows that we are active in a lot of industries within the Benelux. You see small companies, you see big companies. So it doesn't matter which size you are, simulation can be implemented everywhere.
There's a kind of delay in the connection. Sorry for that.
So as I said before, we are a solution partner where we like to talk with you, where we like to discuss with you how you would like to implement simulation within your workflow, what Ansys has to offer, and how it can be adapted to benefit fully from simulation. Please go to the next slide. So why Ansys? Ansys is definitely the leader in engineering simulation. Ansys is now over 50 years in the business. And I think the main benefit from working with Ansys is that Ansys is only focused on simulation. So everything that Ansys do, everything that Ansys develops or integrates within their system is based on simulation. And as you know, simulation is key right now. You can benefit it in every stage of your workflow, which is then very nice that Ansys is the leader in simulation. Next slide, please. As you can see here, it gives you already a very broad overview of all the major physics where Ansys is active in. It's not only limited towards structures or fluids, from which you may know simulation, but it has been expanding towards electromagnetics and even optical. What is also important to know for Ansys is that we have a platform-based workflow where we have Ansys Workbench. It's a centralized platform where you can actually link every kind of simulation and use the results of maybe your structure simulation within your fluid simulation, which makes that every single tool of Ansys can be combined and can be used to optimize your simulation. So let's go further to the startup program. Why should you choose for Ansys? Well, Ansys is a very renowned product, a very renowned software package, and we do not set up a different kind of tool for our startups as for our commercial clients, of course not. So what you can benefit from during your startup years is that you are able to use the full license of Ansys that every other big company uses as well. And why would you implement simulation? Well, as I said before, you can use it in every stage of your workflow, which will eventually help you reduce your cost. It will help you develop better your products, make very wise decisions, and it will also help you decline your prototype manufacturing to only those specific designs that you know will work. Next slide, please. So within that startup program, of course, we will help you find the right workflow and find the right tools for you. But there's also an opportunity to gain brand recognition. We will help you and we will engage with you to also broaden yourself on a marketing level, where we will provide viewage on the Ansys website and on the Infinite website, or an Infinite and Ansys social media posts, as well as you will do the same, and we will connect on that level as well. Next slide, please. So how big is Ansys startup? Well, it hasn't been there for a long time. So as you see, it was 5 years since 2020. So it's now 6 years. But already over 1,000 startups joined over 44 countries, which is quite a lot, and we are still growing. So it just shows that the startup program is really a thing that will help you be better. Here you can see a small overview of customers that Ansys and we ourselves have worked with, specifically Lightyear, which I hope you all will know. Of course, Magnax as well, and Dan will tell you more about it. But it just shows that the Ansys Startup Program can be used when you are quite small, when you are still developing your product, or you're still developing how to implement it into the market. And you can just grow in time with that. But let me tell you more about Ansys Startup Program. Next slide, please. Here you have a small overview of the different bundles that we provide. So you don't have to worry about all the different tools that Ansys has. We will talk with you to discuss, okay, which bundle will suit you most, and then we will find the right bundle for you. In more detail, my colleague Tim will tell you more about the tools in these bundles. So then a little bit more on the practical side. There are some eligibility criteria on which you have to agree upon before starting in the startup program. Can you click once more, Anna, please? I think three of these criteria are the most important, which is that the business has to be less than 10 years old. The revenue of the company or of the startup cannot be higher than 4.1 million. And maybe most important, the startup cannot be an engineering service. So we help startups mostly by helping developing their own product. Next slide, please. So how do we start? Well, first, we will talk with you. We will discuss how you want to integrate simulation within your workflow, and we will discuss what the options are with Ansys. Next, we will talk with you about the eligibility criteria, which is a small thing that can be really easily administratively be set away, because I know that a lot of startup programs will definitely fit the criteria. And then, of course, we will have a conversation on how to implement it and how to integrate the simulation itself. So there are a few steps, but they're quite small. And I think everyone can really benefit from the startup program. But let's go more into detail and go to Tim, who will explain more about the products themselves and everything that you can do with Ansys.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. Tim, I'm trying again to give you control of keyboard and mouse.
Yes, thank you, Eric. Now, thank you, Sarah, for the nice overview. So now I'm going to.
Do you have the control? Because I have a pop-up. Let me see. One moment, Tim. Sorry. Does it work?
Yes, it works now.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to go through the detail of the products, the 3 different bundles, mainly focus on 3 different bundles, and also the other aspects of how we can help you in terms of when you start to adopt the startup programs. So here we have the structure and fluid bundle as the main bundle. So this is like most of the let's say the product development you are definitely going to benefit a lot from it, because it contains the Ansys Mechanicals enterprise solver. So this is the most powerful product of Ansys, and also of course we also included the CFD solvers. For instance, Ansys Fluent, Ansys CFX for if you are doing any kind of fluid dynamic analysis. In mechanical, you can do not just the implicit analysis, but also explicit analysis. For instance, like a crash test, like any kind of cracking analysis. And on top of that, you can also do a static or dynamic analysis. And then most importantly, helps you to find out what is going to be the potential failure and also the design insights in your product. Ansys Mechanical also includes the very advanced nonlinear physics and also multi-physics all comes together, so that means you get the most accurate and high fidelity results through the analysis, and helps you to determine whether your product will going to perform well or not, or help you to optimize your product development. Simulation itself can be both an engineering tool. Of course, it's most important to be an engineering tool, but also can be a communication tool, because that's a lot of time that using a simulation with one picture, you already be able to convince either your investor or the market that the product is going to be a promising product. So this is how you should see the simulation tool. On top of that, there's also Ansys Discovery, which is a real-time simulation tool, so that when you're in the early stage of design, you're able to change the small part of design and then see how the simulation result will react to it in the real-time speed. When we're talking about real-time, we're talking about less than 1 second. And there's also Ansys Motion, a very powerful dynamic solver for you to solving any kind of dynamic environment. And then we have the additive suite. So the additive suite helps you if you are doing any kind of 3D printing or any kind of topology optimization. Then these simulation tools help you to find out what is the best topology, and also how to get your part maybe 3D printed out, or maybe you are using other additive tools to manufacture it, and how to compensate the printing deformation, and how are you going to design the best of your supporting material. If you are doing any of the PCB design, then Ansys Sherlock are going to help you to design the best of your PCB with the lifetime prediction, and also the quality assurance. And then there's an electromagnetic bundle. This is also the very important bundle if you are doing any kind of electromagnetic analysis. Here you see that Electronics Enterprise. This is actually a license bundle that including all the flagship electromagnetic solvers. So we have HFSS for high frequency solving. When you are in an antenna, radar, or any kind of high frequency regions, then this is the solver you are going to use. Or you are using Maxwell for general low frequency electromagnetic analysis, motors, transformers, or anything with the magnets that's falling into this category. We also have Ansys Q3D for parasitics extraction, for instance, like a touch panel, or like a bus bar, or transmission lines. And then if you are focusing on designing PCBs, or your PCB is part of the essential parts inside your product, then you want to make sure that it is not the part that's get a failure. And then you want to also simulate it and then find out what's the potential weak spots. And then one of the major weak spots is usually the heat. And so that's why Ansys IcePack is also part of this package to help you to figure out the electronic heat dissipation and how you're going to optimize your heat management in your electronics device. Since last year, ModelCAD has also been part of this startup bundle. And then this is really for model designers, especially electric model designers, to quickly design your motor geometry, and then take into account of the multiple physics and multi-physics analysis in the early stage of analysis. And also maybe even do a system analysis to find out your efficiency map, and then to figure out how can you optimize your motor geometry, and then also your other design inputs. The third bundle we have here is the optics and photonics bundle. So the optic photonics bundle is for you are in optical design or in photonics, let's say PIC design industry, photonics integrated circuit industry. And then you are going to use Ansys numerical. And then if you are designing for any optical parts or your optical aspect is actually one of the important of your engineering challenges, then that's spells. That's all of spells products are all included. As you can see, each bundle contains a lot of different products. You do not need to use all of them as a startup. Usually you will start with one of the product. For instance, maybe you will start with mechanical only. But then after a while, if you are start to explore, and then maybe you are changing your design course, which happens quite frequently as a startup, then you can just switch into the other physics and other design tools immediately, and then there's with no extra cost. And to keep in mind that the Ansys startup is really a program that's to help you to success. So that means you only need to pay a very, very tiny amount of the cost to be able to access the flagship products. And then so that even if you're just using one product, it's still going to be way cheaper than the actual commercial price. So you don't have to say that, oh, I'm not using so many of the products, so I don't want to go for startup. No, even if you just use one, it's going to benefit you a lot. And it's not just about the capabilities, that what kind of analysis you can do, but also about the HPC and optimization. So what is that? What are they? The HPC is short for high performance computing. So that means it gives you the capability to give you the enhanced productivity for your engineers. It gives you option to that you can enable more designs, consider more designs, and then see which one is the best, and also gives you the possibility to calculate a larger simulation, gets higher fidelity results, gets more accurate engineering insight in your design phase. And this is actually a major concern because a lot of simulation engineers end up find out that the simulation, this hardware or the HPC limitation is actually one of the major limitation for them to have analysis that to conduct a lot of amount of analysis or to have a high fidelity results. And this is why Ansys invests so much in increasing the scalability, increasing the productivity of simulation when it scaled up into a large number of cores, and then how can you run a calculation in a parallel speed, and also to speed up in this kind of exponential curve, which of course brings you the simulation time exponentially decreased. So this is the HPC license, which is also included in the all of the Ansys bundles, startup bundles. And the Ansys HPC license not just enables you to run a larger model, but also enables you to run the larger number of parameters simultaneously. So that means you can explore 5 different variations at the same time, or even 20 different variations at the same time. Just see like which one works better, and then instead of running them one by one, now you're running them all together, and then that speeds up in a dramatic amount. So this is the HPC for running more design variations or for running a more accurate product. So the right-hand side is more larger size of the solution, finer mesh, finer cells. On the left-hand side, you're trying to optimize it, have a lot of different design dimensions, and trying to find out what's the best solution and what's the trade-off of your design. For the for more design variations, then you will notice that in structural and fluid bundle and also in electromagnetics bundle, Ansys OptiSLang is are part of the starter bundle to both bundles. This Ansys OptiSLang is actually the very advanced tool to help you to get the optimized result in a very quick way and in a very efficient way. So it helps you to run through hundreds of parameters very efficiently and also helps you to optimize the model in a very short amount of time. Eventually gives you the robust design optimization and have your uncertainty quantified, and then to have the design for Six Sigma quality. Now, as a startup, you will not always be able to have your own hardware available for running hundreds of cores and then leverage the highest capability of Ansys Startup Bundle. In that case, you can also combine with Ansys Cloud. Ansys Cloud allows you to have the access to all the HPC hardware resources on the cloud as easy as you should be, fully integrated into the software interface. You just, with few clicks, you send the job to the cloud and then get the result from the cloud and then do the pre-processing or post-processing either on the cloud or on your own desktop. So this Ansys Cloud is hosted by Microsoft Azure. And then so with that, you'll be able to give you the access to up to 700 cores or even more, depending on the size of your model and also depending on the applications. So once you have these fancy capabilities, but then the major question is, how are we going to start? So this is why we're here to help. As Infinite, we help you to get the software, we help you to establish your first workflow, and we give you the proper training to teach you how to get started with your first simulation. And then if you are facing into any technical issues or any engineering challenges, we are here to support you. Just contact us through our support hotline or our support email box. And then for some cases, we can even provide you some consultation. Use our tens of years, decades of experience in simulation fields and gives you the best practice in your product design workflow. So here's the training facility, and before Corona time, we also provide local trainings, but nowadays also a kind of a hybrid. We can still do local trainings with more flexible regulation nowadays, but before then, we also do online trainings. And you see these trainings covers all different topics: structural, heat transfer, nonlinear composites, or even go to CFD, electromagnetics. You name it, as long as that's within our specialty, and then that's pretty wide specialty, and then we can always give you the training and helps you to start your first simulation and then towards the success of your product development. This can be in our office in Breda, or we can also go to your office and then do such so-called in-house training. The last point I would like to mention is Ansys Learning Hub is also the other learning resource that you can add on top of the startup product, startup bundle, where it gives you your self-paced learning resource, or you can also attend the virtual classes. It's a live course online, and then give you access to all the different learning materials across the entire physics domain, not just how to do this certain analysis, but also how to optimize your simulation so that you get the result in the most efficient way and then in the most accurate manner. So this is the Ansys Learning Hub and also our learning support. So with that being said, I'll give the stage to Dan. He's going to give you more about how they are benefit from startup bundles, and then also some more exciting developments in Magnax nowadays. Dan?
Yeah.
It's okay, you have control, Dan.
Okay, thank you, Tim. So first I will give a short introduction on the company itself before I go into what we actually did with the startup bundle. Okay, so first a bit about our company. We're a company that's based in Kortrijk in Belgium. And we actually started with the Ansys Startup program in 2018. So this year was actually our last year, and we switched already. In that time, we were only with a team of 7 people. And now in 2021, we're already with a team of 30 people. So we grew quite a lot. I think today we're actually with 32 already. We completed a very big funding round as well in 2020 to further develop our yokeless axial flux technology and also inverter solutions to develop it further. And we're in the moment completing our B sample stage, working together with some automotive tier ones and OEMs. We are planning to produce our motors via manufacturing partners so that they can produce our motors in high volumes. And for ourselves, we want to keep the R&D and the low volume productions internally. We also have some strong patents that actually protect our motor and that make our product very strong. So what we actually do is we develop yokeless axial flux technology motors, and we focus on ground immobility. And then, yeah, as already said, production will be via experienced manufacturing partners. So I now want to give a brief overview of what a yokeless axial flux machine actually is. So this is actually a picture or an expanded view of our motor. Here you have a stator and then 2 rotor discs at the side of it that are mounted on the axle. So it's built up differently than a traditional radial flux motor. This is an axial flux motor, and those rotor discs actually spin. In a radial flux motor, your flux path would be from like somewhere here in the stator and would go out radially and then turn back like this. But for the axial flux machine, so that's actually due to the difference in how it's built up, the flux path is in the axial direction, so perpendicular to the axis, from one rotor disc crossing the stator to another rotor disc turning in the disc and then closing the path like that. We use permanent magnet rotors to have a high torque possibility, and then due to how the motor is built up, we also can omit the yoke. So we have a yokeless stator. That's also where the name comes from, yokeless axial flux motor. So what that actually does is you can leave away part of the iron in the stator, which actually reduces the weight and also reduces the losses. So then you actually end up with a high power density and with a high efficiency. We have a patented stator construction that's also easily mass manufactured, so that brings the costs further down. And we use special coils, so they're actually flat copper wires, which are very resistive to AC losses, so you can actually reach very high speeds with that without having too much additional copper losses. Then, to point out where we excel is that we have a very high power density due to the way the motor is built up. So we can omit the yoke, which reduces the weight quite effectively. And then we're also more efficient than traditional motors due to lower iron losses. And it's very suited for automated assembly. Then I wanted to show the motor portfolio we're currently working on. So we're making 2 initial motor types, a 200 kilowatt variant and a 300 kilowatt variant in the same package. And then you can mix and match them together to have a modular system, combine them with gearboxes or with inverters as you like. And then now I'm going to go and how we actually use the startup program to make our design better. So the first thing I want to say is that the Ansys Startup program gives you access to a lot of Ansys products, and then that again gives you the possibility to explore and evaluate new ideas very quickly in different physical domains. And I'm mainly going to talk about electronics, so the Ansys Maxwell that we use, because I'm an R&D engineer in electromagnetics. So this is really my kind of thing, and I know a bit less about the mechanical and the Fluent simulations we're also doing. So what you can do is you can do 2D electromagnetic modeling and 3D electromagnetic modeling. You can use 2D if you want to do very quick simulations, and that the accuracy is a bit less important for the moment because you want to quickly see what different design variations would do. Or you can switch to 3D modeling, which actually gives you very accurate results. And then you can extract all the data you actually need from electric motors, such as performance characteristics, torque current graphs, or torque speed profiles. This figure on the bottom here is a figure that's actually created within Ansys Maxwell. So they also have a quite powerful post-processing tool in which you can quickly create plots from all the different variables that are available within Ansys Maxwell. And you can plot different variations. So if you would change some geometries, you can plot them on top of each other to see what is affected. And it's actually a pretty useful tool to quickly generate reports to supply the data or to convince people of what you have done. Or you can plot the flux densities in your motor, etc. Then I wanted to highlight a very useful tool within Ansys Maxwell. It's called Optimetrics, and this actually allows you to sweep over a lot of different parameters. So you can parameterize your entire model, and then with Optimetrics sweep over give different values to that parameter and then compute the model over and over again. We, for instance, use this to sweep over different ID and IQ values. So that's Q axis current and D axis current. For those of you who are a bit into electric motors will definitely know what it is. And then by simulating over ID and IQ, so the currents, you can extract the flux values and the torque values. So you end up with flux tables and torque tables, which we then use in Python. So you can easily extract them in a CVS file or in a text file. And then we use that in Python to actually set up different set points for our further simulations. So then what you would do here is actually determine the optimal current set point for a certain torque and a certain speed. And then you can create like a new Excel file, which you use again in Optimetrics to sweep over all the operating points you want to see simulated. And then when simulating these points, you can, for instance, extract all the different losses at all those points and create an efficiency map from that. So here we see copper losses, magnet losses, and core losses, so iron losses, which are the main losses in electric motors. And because they are really simulated, you can really also see how they behave over the operating range. For instance, the copper losses can also include AC losses, so additional losses that come from leakage fields or from magnet fields. So skin and proximity losses, everything is included in the simulation. And actually seeing this loss distribution also allows you to see which loss is the highest. If you, for instance, are looking at very high speeds and you want to see how I can optimize my design there, you could, for instance, see that one type of losses is higher at that point and then see how you can reduce these losses to increase the efficiency. The efficiency map itself can then also be used further in system simulations. Another point I wanted to show is that you can, if you want to go into a little bit more detail, you can then couple your Maxwell model, which is this one. So this is the same model as we saw before, a 2D electromagnetic model. You can couple it in Twin Builder with a control model that you create yourself. For instance, this is a model of an inverter that is used to supply the motor. So this actually determines the voltage that is supplied to the windings in your finite element models. And then you can actually see what, for instance, the effect of your control on the motor is. So you have some induced current ripples that are fed into your motor to see how much additional losses you would have or how much additional torque ripple you would have. And the other way around can also be done. So you can change some things in your model here, change some geometries, change other things, change materials, and see what the effect is on your controller behavior itself. So if it's still stable or not, or it allows you to investigate different control strategies like space vector modulation or square wave modulation. And then I still wanted to show that apart from that, Ansys Electronics has a very detailed post-processing as well. For instance, what you can see here is a time averaged loss density. So after a certain simulation time, you can plot the average loss in each computational node, so in each mesh element, which actually shows you then where your where the electric motor has the highest losses. For instance, here you can see a spot that has higher losses compared to other spots in the motor. Another powerful tool is that you can plot the magnetization coefficients. So if you would, for any reason, end up with really high currents or really high temperatures in the motor, your magnets could demagnetize if you use permanent magnets. And that in the end destroys your motor. Things like that can be simulated with Ansys Maxwell, and you could also see afterwards, after the demagnetization event occurred, how much impact it has on your performance. Because also demagnetization is not a process that happens from 1 to 0. So you have some demagnetization, but your magnet still has some power to produce torque. Another powerful thing is that you can visualize loss densities and make animations out of that. So you can actually see in time and in space how your losses are distributed, which gives you additional possibilities to think how you could improve your motor, how you could improve the motor design. And then I still wanted to highlight that also Ansys Mechanical and Ansys Fluent are used inside Magnax. That's less my thing because I'm mainly electromagnetic design engineer. But for instance, we use Mechanical to see deformations and stresses in different components, or to see the modal shapes and natural frequencies of components that are connected together. We can estimate or we can simulate temperatures in different components, or use Fluent to see how your coolant is flowing in the channels and how it distributes across your motor. But yeah, I can't say that much in detail about this because I'm less involved in these simulations. Then I wanted to recap what we actually do with the starter program and how it helped us. So it really helps that you can model components and systems over different physical domains. So I mainly talked about the electromagnetics now, but as you saw in the last slide, we also use the Fluent and the CFD solvers to really characterize the entire system. And then you also have access to HPC licenses, and that really drastically speeds up the simulation time. So both, or you want to simulate larger models, or you can run a lot of simulations in parallel if you want to, say, for instance, change this geometry from 1 to 10 and change this geometry from 1 to 10, sweep over all the variations that you get together, and then you can evaluate the results afterwards. Benefit of simulation is, of course, that you get insight in what happens inside the product. And I also wanted to say that even for novice users, if you're not super experienced in simulation, even comparative simulations can really help make decisions without the need for the highest accuracy already from the beginning. So yeah, this is how we use the starter program and how it helped us grow a lot in the past years. Yeah. So Sarah, I think it's up to you again.
Thanks, Dan. What's next? As you saw, Magnax really made benefit from the startup program, introducing it very early in the growth of their company. And as you see, they used both the structural and fluids bundle and the electromagnetics bundle. But yeah, that's everything that's possible. So you don't have to fix only on one bundle. We can provide everything that you need. So that's why we want to talk to you. Get started now. So get in touch with Infinite, with me. You see my email address, and we will talk further on how startup program can be adjusted to benefit your business. One thing that I did forget to mention in the beginning, a practical side note, is the startup program is a program that is set up for a not restricted period, but it's for a period of 3 years, where each year we will see the development of how simulation can be integrated in your workflow. So after these 3 years, and that's the reason what Dan mentioned earlier, So they already had that past 3 years of startup program, and now they switched to commercial licensing. But it just gives you the opportunity for consecutive years of 3 years where you can really use the power of all Ansys tools to grow your business. And that is what the power is of the Ansys Startup Program. So that's all I really wanted to say at the end. So thank you all. If there are any questions, feel free to ask them in the questions comment box.
Yes, I will hand over to me,
Yes,
Sarah. I
thank
have
you.
one question. Thank you all, Tim, Dan, and Sarah, for your presentation. Thank you all. I think there were some problems with, not for everybody could see the screen, I think, I don't know, but sorry for the connection. That was a little bit bad. There is a question, is there a certificate of this participation of this webinar? Just to inform you all, the recording will send to you after this webinar next week with the PDF of the presentation and also with some other maybe interesting info of Magnax. I don't know if somebody has a question. I will unmute you all. So if there are any questions, please let us know. Feel free, you can unmute yourself now. Are there any questions or remarks or topics or questions about simulations or the bundles? Questions for Dan? Just waiting a couple of minutes. I don't see any questions or chats so far. So everything is clear for everybody, I hope. Please let us know. Otherwise, you can contact Sarah directly. In this PDF, you will find her contact details. I will wait 1 minute. Okay, if there are no questions further, then thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. And thank you on behalf of Magnax Daan de Ruiter and his colleagues, Team Infinite, of course, and colleagues Sarah and Tim. Thank you for joining us today and wishing you a nice day. And thank you all. Bye-bye.